Hi, Sandra here. I'm going to talk with you today about painting hats. I just uploaded a video short of the hat I recently finished. It's a felt hat. I purchased 6 of these felt hats in different colors and brought them with me to Mexico so that I can paint them while I'm living here for several months. I'll show that one in a moment and talk a little bit about the process of painting it. But I thought I would share with you kind of how I got into painting the hats. First of all, I've been creating and painting things since I can remember. Like literally my earliest memories include painting and being very drawn to and compelled to make art. Over the years, I have painted on all kinds of things. For a while, I had a business and I was painting murals and doing faux finishes for people on walls and furniture. I also love to paint on natural items that I find, like skulls, bones, rocks, sticks. I was at a thrift store and I found this wool felt hat. It was really inexpensive. I think I paid like $1 for this hat. It was brown, it was all covered in dust and just looked pretty tired. So I picked it up and I brought it home, and when I had seen it at the thrift store, I was like, maybe I should get that and try painting on it, try refreshing it and painting on it. And it's a little out of shape and stuff. So, you know, I was getting it just to do for myself and just to play around with. So I brought it home, I washed it, I dyed it green, and I made this hat band for it, which is nothing spectacular. I just took some denim and kind of braided some pieces and put it together and wrapped it around there. But what I did on the underside of the brim is this. Now, when I got this and I was thinking of painting it, I went online and I looked up painted hats, and I had seen painted hats in Mexico before. It's pretty common. You see on the sides of the road these various shops, these straw hats, and they're painted with all these vibrant colors and floral patterns. So, you know, I had seen others do this before. It's not like it's something I invented. I was like, okay, so people have done it. You know, I was pretty sure that I could paint on this material and stuff. And I did. And I came up with this. The process of painting on the felt was a little challenging because the felt has a bit of nap or texture to it, and it's very absorptive. So the first layers of paint really soak into the material and it doesn't look so hot. Like, you've got to really build up the paint. So what I did was I started with just white paint. I did all of the design in white, took multiple layers, but eventually it built up a base over which I could lay the color. So yeah, I was real happy with the way this turned out, and I wear it frequently. So I decided, as a new project for my time in Mexico, that I would acquire some brand new felt hats and bring them with me. And so I got 6 of them in different colors, and this one is the first one I did, and so I just completed this recently. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. I did both sides, and I painted this edge here around the outside of the brim, and I made the hat band. I started with painting the edge around the brim. That took me 3 hours, y'all, just to paint that. And the reason for that was, just like I said, the paint just soaks into the material. When I got the brown, the dark brown color painted, I went in over the top with the white, and I had to go over that multiple times. I did both the bottom and the top side of that, going around the entire brim, making these little triangles over and over and over again, and then waiting for that to dry, and then going and doing it on the other side, joining them together, then going back over it all again where it was needed. It took a while. It took 30 hours to complete that. Then I started with the horses. I wanted them to be mirrored and very similar. So to make that happen, I sketched out the horse, and I made a template, and I just cut it. I don't really have a whole lot of materials with me, but I just took a piece of notebook paper and I cut out the shape of the horse so that I could flip it and do the exact design on both sides. And I just used a pencil to lightly trace around the cutout. Then I started painting in the details, and I had to do it the same way as the other hat. I started out with white paint, multiple layers, until I built up a base over which I could lay the colors. After I finished the horses, I decided to do a sun design up here. This is an interesting part of the evolution of this hat. I started out just painting a sun, and I didn't have this white background that you see on here now. And I was very careful to lay it out. I wanted it sort of centered on the hat properly. I thought I had that done. Started painting, and I didn't really, sometimes whenever you're painting something, you have to like get it sort of away from yourself and look at it from a distance to see it properly. And I didn't really do that until after I had been painting the sun for a while. And when I finished, I realized that I had somehow slightly shifted the pattern over, and it didn't look right. It was just ever so slight. And I showed Dave, and he was like, I wouldn't worry about it, you know, it looks fine. I left it for a day or two and just looked at it. I couldn't let it go. I was like, no, it's gonna ruin the whole thing. I've already spent so much time on this hat. I want it to be right. Then I was like, how do I fix this? Because if you make a wrong move with the paint on this hat, it's not like you can go back and erase it, unfortunately. So that's another thing that makes it really a slow process, is just having to be super, super careful about not letting the paint bleed into the fabric around the design. I finally decided that to paint this white over the top of it. The sun, I hadn't added color to it yet, so it was able to sort of just blend into the other white paint. But yeah, so there's actually another sun underneath this that didn't turn out like I wanted it to, and so I painted over it with this white, and then I decided to put the same pattern back here. And you know what? I think I like it better than what my original plan was. Sometimes accidents turn into like good things. So that was the case. So, and then I was really careful to make sure that everything was centered this time. Did that, and then I decided to put the moon down below. Sun, moon, stars. I like the sun. The sunlight is so important to our health. And so I'm always happy to pay homage to the sun in anything that I do. And then of course the moon and the stars and the night sky, which I go outside a lot at night and look up at the sky. And then I decided to go ahead and put stars on the bottom side as well. After all of that was done, I created this hat band. I made that using a piece of white ribbon that I painted brown. I had to glue it in half because the ribbon was too wide. So this is actually a double thick layer of ribbon that's been glued together. Then I painted the pattern on it, and I took some of this, it's suede like material. It's not real leather, it's faux leather, but I took that and put it over the top and then just tied it off on this side. And that is it, you know? It took me, gosh, let's see, how many hours do I probably have into this hat? 3 hours painting just the edge. I probably have at least 8 hours on the horses. And I'm not even including all the time that I spent thinking about this hat. But yeah, probably 30 hours. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about the pattern making and stuff that I did. But yeah, everything all together, it's easily 30 hours of work for this one hat. I plan to have these for sale at a market that I am going to be participating in, hopefully starting in November here in Baja. That's it. Just thought I would share that with you all. I thank you for watching me. Appreciate it. That's it. Bye. One more thing I want to add in that I meant to talk about, but I forgot, was why the horses. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I choose my design. I love horses. I was kind of horse crazy when I was young. I had all sorts of horse stuff. I read horse books. I was into like Walter Farley and the Black Stallion books and all of that. And then I was lucky enough to have some horses when I was a kid growing up. In my 20s, I worked for a place that I was a park ranger and we had a mounted horse unit. I was hired to be part of that, and so I used to ride horses in for work. That was awesome. And I've been involved with horses since then throughout my life. I love them. I think they are so spectacularly beautiful, and there's something about them, and I'm not alone in this for sure. So many people love horses. They symbolize like freedom, wildness, and beauty in such a way. The paint horse kind of came to me in like a vision almost. I was thinking about what I was going to paint on the first hat that I did. It just all of a sudden just came into my mind that like painted horses, like the horses that roam in the American West, the wild Mustangs and stuff. And Dave and I had recently watched this documentary about this guy who took these wild Mustangs that he got from the horse adoption program and then rode from the southern border of the United States all the way up to Canada. I think a couple of the horses in that were paints or pintos. It just, that was it, and I knew I was going to paint painted pinto horses on this hat. So just thought that I would add that in there in case you were wondering.